Hello everyone, welcome back to diving into Doctor Who as our journey with the Ninth Doctor and Rose Tyler continues on. Jeannine, we met them, of course, last week. Well, we didn't meet them really, did we?
Yeah.
Because we know about them, and I certainly know more because this is I don't say that in a egotistical kind of way.
No, you don't.
This is a Jeannine Hasn't Seen
Yeah.
show.
Yes.
However, we must remind ourselves and you that, of course, Jeannine has in fact seen season 1 of Doctor Who, the revival, NuWho, whatever you wish to refer to it as, the 2005 season with the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, many years ago.
Very long time ago.
Which is why we're here doing this now. Of course, if you haven't checked out our first episode of Diving into Doctor Who, talking season 1, episode 1, Rose, and episode 2, The End of the World, do go and do that we did a couple of weeks ago. You can find it on the It's Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. Subscribe and ding your notification bell there. Or you can, of course, find it on the It's Wonderful Podcast feed in audio-only form to take it on the go with you as well.
Yes.
So subscribe wherever you are listening. But we have 2 more exciting episodes. Are they exciting episodes, Jeannine? What do we feel about these episodes is the main question. But the episodes we have are The Unquiet Dead and the first of the first 2-parter in NuWho. You know, the first of the revival series, 2-parters. We have Aliens of London. We'll be getting to World War III, which is the conclusion to that 2-parter next time. But I thought it would be, it's interesting to kind of end our discussion on ultimately a cliffhanger today. But as 2 episodes as a whole, they're obviously very different from each other. They're also both very different, really, to the first 2 episodes of this season, series, whatever we would refer to Doctor Who as, given that it's a British show. Maybe Aliens of London has some similar tendency to Rose, the opener, the pilot episode, as it were. But I think what has always been a great love of mine of this first half of the Ninth Doctor's run is it shows so distinctly, and it's so important that it did this, given that it was a revival, but it shows so distinctly the range of what Doctor Who is. You open with such a human-based kind of crazy action-packed episode that introduces real characters that feel down to earth and genuine, and even the Doctor feels pretty down to earth and genuine in that episode.
That first episode.
You then go to The End of the World, which is the
crazy aliens, special effects,
And then you get these 2, and then you get the follow-up episode, which we'll get into now as a distinct one, which is, NuWho's first celebrity historical, as we refer to them as, where we go back into the past. We travel back into the past, find ourselves a famous character from history, and spend 45 minutes with them doing something. The first one we get with Charles Dickens in The Unquiet Dead. Jeannine, what do we think about episode 3, The Unquiet Dead? It's a little bit of a ghostly story. Or is it?
A little bit of a zombie kind of feeling as well. So I did love the horror elements in this one. I like that we are in this really fun POV with Rose because, first episode was her every day. The next episode, she goes way, way into the future. And now she's like her first time going into the past. So I love her kind of getting a foothold on what this life looks like. He promised her that it was going to be dangerous, as
Yeah.
dangerous as it was in that first episode. And she still took that chance. So, he's delivering on that promise. But I also, I talked about really loving I kind of doing a watch of Smallville for the first time. And, I recently watched Buffy a couple years ago for the first time, and just remembering how much I really do kind of enjoy that Monster of the Week format. But here I love that the Monster of the Week format is also kind of developing the Doctor's past and his story that hasn't kind of fully been revealed yet. We've gotten kind of the Cliff's notes of, what happened this time war, and he feels some type of responsibility not being able to save anybody, let alone his own people. And then each episode we're getting our Monster of the Week feeling some type of grievance towards him for his failure in that, and kind of
Yeah.
developing him in terms of his guilt that he feels, and why he kind of has this desire to help as much as he can, and all those kinds of things. So I love that our Monsters of the Week are informing the Doctor's history and giving us bits of that each episode, while
Yeah.
also having that fun aspect of that format.
I think that's what I love. Again, it's something I so obviously love about the best eras of of Doctor Who. My favoured times in Doctor Who's history is its ability to feel like a Monster of the Week, Villain of the Week show,
Yeah.
but constantly keep an overarching plot in the background of everything that you keep referring to constantly and constantly, that builds up to something. Your finale doesn't just feel like something crazy happening out of nowhere. And and when we do get to this season finale, as you do know from having watched it all that time ago, it doesn't feel like it comes out of nowhere. It has been teased and introduced and spoken about and questioned on constantly throughout this whole season.
Yeah.
And I think we get it more distinctly in The Unquiet Dead than we got in the previous 2 episodes, in the opening 2 episodes. Namely, we get the Time War being named as the Time War
Yeah.
by our villain, the Gelth themselves, who appear to first and foremost to be ghosts, really, don't they? It's a very supernatural kind of feeling episode, a haunted house, old Victorian haunted house feeling of an episode. But they are ultimately revealed to be gaseous aliens stuck in a rift in time and space, which appears right at this exact spot in Cardiff. And you might be questioning to yourself, Jeannine, why is it Cardiff? Why Cardiff? Why not London, the centre of Britain?
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. You know why it's Cardiff? Because Doctor Who in this era was shot by BBC Wales because it was cheaper to do.
Okay.
So everything's very Cardiff based. Everything's
Okay.
very Welsh. This is also because Russell T Davies, the showrunner at this time and current showrunner of Doctor Who as well, is in fact Welsh. So it kind of goes hand in hand there a little bit. But so we get that rift in time and space thing being brought up distinctly in this episode. We get a mention of Bad Wolf, which comes back again and again and again as we get further on in this season. It's really the main big bad of the season, shall we say? I know it's a bit, funny to say the big bad wolf and all that. But very much that is the case in season 1 of Doctor Who. Exactly what Bad Wolf is, we will come to learn much later on.
I don't even remember.
Well, we will come to learn much later on, of course. We daren't say anything now. But the fact that it is said in this episode by character, Gwyneth, who's a Victorian kind of housemaid sort of character in this undertaker's office, this kind of funeral home.
Yeah.
She has developed a kind of psychic,
Like a seer
psychic
ability.
sight, a seer ability due to the funeral home being sat on top of this rift in space and time. And she looks into, she has this really great scene, really great conversation with Rose. She looks into Rose's life, sees modern day London, and Rose's modern day life, and is so deeply confused by it, really quite disturbed by it, and then says, "Bad wolf," and the music kicks in. And she looks terrified, and we're wondering what the hell does this mean? Where's this come from?
Yeah.
But it's telling you to remember it, and it's the first time we've had that said, and I think it's really clear. I do realise I haven't given a proper synopsis of the Unquite Dead either. I must get used to leading these styles of shows myself, because
you need to have a Doctor Who binder.
Yes. I do. I found a bit of a different type of synopsis as well to the one we had. The ones we had last week. I think this is a little bit better. So we have the dead are roaming the streets of Cardiff in 1869, when the Ninth Doctor and Rose arrive just in time for Christmas. Teaming up with Charles Dickens, the TARDIS team, as they refer for some reason, they're called the TARDIS team, encounter the Gelf, creatures sucked through the Cardiff rift from the other end of the universe, their home lost to war. Surely inhabiting dead bodies is wrong, though. Can both sides be helped, or are these gaseous creatures not to be trusted?
Ooh.
It's a good little synopsis.
Yes. But no, they're not to be.
I mean, they're ultimately not to be, but I love that. I mean, this is fundamental to the nature of Doctor Who as a show as well. I love that the Doctor's immediate response is, well,
to help them.
These creatures need help.
It's very much what you
help.
Yeah, it's very much what you talked about in kind of comparing it to Star Trek and the mission of Star Trek to always kind of help different alien races and planets, and not always try to fight for peace, no matter kind of who they're up against and that kind of thing. And peace is always kind of the first thought and first plan and first point of order. So when he kind of does those things and it's his immediate effort, I'm always kind of reminded of that, and I love that concept as well. Not everybody is peace first.
No, but Doctor Who very much, the Doctor is constantly peace first. Whatever era, they are in, there has been 15 distinct versions of the Doctor. Well, I suppose there's maybe technically been 17 distinct versions of the Doctor, as well as a bunch of other little flashes of whatever the Doctor used to be or will be in the future. Doctor Who's a very messy show, obviously, but whatever era you are in, classic Who, new Who, modern Who, if we are considering it a new era of Doctor Who, the Doctor will always be help and assist first. Always. And I think it is key when the Doctor can change to not become that, because it has happened. I think we will see it happen on occasion over the course of our run of diving into Doctor Who, wherever we get up to, because the Doctor's also a very, very human alien. The Doctor is a very flawed character. He, in this instance, is not perfect. So the fact that, he's always there to help first, but can allow his own greatness ultimately to play on his ego and become very, very egotistical. at times, and I think that changes depending on which Doctor we are dealing with. I don't think we ever quite see that from Christopher Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor. He's far too grieving of an incarnation. He's far too guilty of an incarnation to be egotistical at all. But he's certainly aware of his own abilities, and I like that in this episode he is very advisory more than kind of active in helping the situation. He kind of stands back and acts as just the voice of reason.
Voice of reason,
for everybody going on, for everything going on. It's kind of Dickens himself who ends up
kind of taking more action and figuring it out.
Active part. In the finale, which I'm glad Dickens, as the character, as the celebrity historical character in this episode, actually does that by the end of the episode, because he does precious little else throughout.
Exactly. Yes, I was watching this thinking, like, why did this have to be Dickens? Because he doesn't seem very relevant.
No, it was just like it was kind of a good, interesting, maybe ghost story, maybe weird sort of spooky alien story. What's going on here?
Exactly.
And then we just go, well, it's in Victorian times, so let's just put Dickens in.
Yes, make it set it at Christmas. Something from this will lead into the idea of, his greatest work or whatever kind of thing. But you don't really get that until the very end. And even in the story that we're telling, there's not much in there that like speaks to A Christmas Carol.
No, not at all.
Exactly.
No.
So
I mean, I think you get one scene of the Doctor kind of fanboying over Dickens. And saying, I've read everything you've ever done. It's so wonderful. And Dickens is sat there going, yes, it's very, thank you very much. Yes,
and a very kind of sweet moment at the end, kind of him asking about his work and if it'll be remembered, and him getting that confirmation that your work will live on, people will remember it forever, and that kind of lighting this spark in him because he's not feeling that great about his work up to that point. So and I'm led to believe that's kind of a lot of what happens in these kind of historical ones, is they kind of end up talking to that person about what their work ends up meaning, and then we see their reaction to that.
I mean, I do find it interesting that I'd forgotten, to be honest with you, that The Unquiet Dead does have that in, because I think it's most famously done, and you might be aware of.
Yes, I'm aware of it, but I haven't seen it. Yeah,
it's done in relation to Vincent van Gogh. In Matt Smith's era of Doctor Who. And it's done to beautiful effect in that particular episode, because obviously Van Gogh was a very, very deeply troubled person.
Yes.
It's done to stunningly emotional effect. So I liked that we got that early indication that
this would be kind of something that's going to happen with these historical figures.
And I'm not quite sure in remembering, because it has been quite a little bit of time since I properly did a sit through watch of this era of Doctor Who myself. Whether it does kind of happen maybe more frequently than I do remember. I did like that element to Dickens in this movie, and Simon Callow, who plays Dickens, Charles Lawton's biggest fan, as I refer to him as, because he loves Charles Lawton, and I love Charles Lawton as well.
Yes,
he wrote the biography of Charles Lawton, which I do own. He's great as Dickens. I believe he had played Dickens in things before. But he is really, really good as Dickens, given the fact that he doesn't have a great deal to do.
He kind of,
the episode itself isn't the most engaging episode you'll ever see of Doctor Who, but it's helped a hell of a long way by Simon Callow as Dickens. And what he's able to do, the range he's able to bring to that character in
Yeah.
45 minutes.
Yeah, they give him the kind of most heroic moment, kind of a smart moment, like playing off of something that the doctor had said about the gas, and that's why they kind of take over the human bodies because they're full of gas. And him ultimately saving the day with that because Rose and the doctor are ultimately kind of trapped. So they would not
Yeah.
have survived the situation without him. But yeah, I mean, it felt like he didn't have a ton to do, but the moments that they do give him, I think, were really great. When the doctor is talking to him about, being a fan of his and him not understanding what a fan means and that whole kind of thing and
Yes.
having to explain it. Those are kind of fun moments. Talking about how, he's calling him Charlie and he's like, well, the ladies call you Charlie. He's like, well, how do you know that? And so just some really kind of fun playful moments, I think, in there, and then him ultimately getting to be the hero figure at the end, and that really sweet moment about asking about his work. But yeah, I don't know that it necessarily needed to even be kind of a historical kind of deep dive moment because he didn't really do anything. So I
Yeah.
think it was just kind of, oh, it'll be fun name recognition and really kind of solidify that we're going to maybe real feeling places in time. Um,
Yeah.
and that's kind of was the only point of it. Cause yeah, him being Dickens did not like
No,
inform much about this
it it
episode.
it it didn't, and it could be considered a little bit of a missed opportunity because, they've never
Yeah.
gone back to Dickens. Not as far as I'm aware have they ever gone back to Dickens since.
Yeah.
And yes, okay, there's so many other historical characters you can go and visit from the real world past, obviously.
Yeah.
But for Britain, Charles Dickens is pretty damn significant, given
Yes.
that Doctor Who for Britain is also pretty damn
Pretty
significant.
significant.
I often
Yeah.
say that Doctor Who is probably the only thing I'm proud of this country for. Certainly one of the few things I'm genuinely proud that has come from that I come from the same shores as,
Yeah,
shall we say.
especially kind of what it grew into, that it started as this kind of educational show and then turned into this
Oh
great
yeah, yeah,
kind of fun thing, highlighting a bunch of actors that, we are just kind of learning about in America and
yeah,
things.
yeah,
And the storytelling and the themes and the kind of emotional beats and the kind of real world kind of politics and humanity aspects that it kind of grows into, all just coming from this show that was supposed to kind of be a little educational thing.
yeah.
I think it is a really great thing to be proud of. So
I do say the best of Doctor Who is a great blend of smart sci-fi, silliness, and spookiness as well.
mhm,
To be honest with
yeah.
you, and I think we've gotten all of that because there is a certain spookiness to the Unquiet Dead
Oh,
as an
yeah, I
episode.
mean, it opens feeling like this kind of zombie thing, like this
Yeah,
body wakes up and starts strangling this guy, kills him, and then he turns into kind of this zombie thing, and the body just kinda wanders out in the street, and so now these 2, funeral people have to go find this body. They allude to the fact that this is happening all the time, and all of that kind of thing. And then,
yeah,
kidnapping Rose because she's seen too much. And so you're wondering what the motivations are of these people. And then go into wondering what the motivations are of these aliens once we kind of learn what they are. And, we see them as maybe good because the doctor is like giving them the benefit of the doubt only for them to have this evil turn. So
but
all of that.
he's only doing that out of guilt for his part in
Yeah,
the
they
Time
kind of
Lord
call him
destroying
out.
their world.
Yeah, they kind of call him out for that, and so then ultimately when they do turn, they start kind of inhabiting all of these dead bodies, and it becomes a whole kind of zombie situation with him and Rose locked behind this gate, and them kind of
Yeah,
reaching and gnarling at them. So, yeah, this episode definitely incorporated a lot of fun horror elements, ghostly and zombie kind of combined, which as a horror fan, I was really into.
what do we make of Rose's, shall we say, trepidation towards venturing into the past? I felt, in the end of the world in the last episode,
Yeah.
it was almost more. understandable for her to be in the future than it is to be in the past. I love the
Yeah.
scene right at the beginning of this episode where she's really cautiously stepping out of the TARDIS onto the
Yeah.
snow,
Mm-hmm.
as though to question whether it's real. And I think because we obviously know so much about the past, and the more recent the past gets, we know more and more about it. In 1869, in the grand scheme of things, isn't that far, isn't
Yeah.
that long ago. We know an awful lot about Victorian
Time.
England.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it feels very real, yet there is something so other about it.
Yeah.
Like, we
And I
know it so well, but we can never go there. And now here's
exactly
Rose Tyler with the opportunity to go
to
there,
go
and it
there.
kind of messes with her brain a little.
Yes. And I love her kind of having those conversations of, really taking in the moment of being able to go somewhere like that. And then even when they find themselves close to death and she's talking about, you
Well, she has
know,
a panic.
yeah, she's like, "Well, I can't die, right? I haven't even been born yet. So how can I die?" And he explains kind of how the time
Doctor's
works
just
to
like,
her.
yeah, that doesn't how it works.
That's not
Anything can
kinda how it
happen.
works.
It's a free for
Yeah,
all.
and she does have this panic, and she had a very similar thing in The End of the World when she calls her mom and is talking to her mom all these years later, knowing that her mom is now dead. So I like this
Yeah.
kind of how this time situation is really messing with her, and then it's like,
There's a lot
we're
of
on
death.
yeah,
A
we're on
lot of
these fun
themes of death.
adventures, and then we take these moments to really sit in, what does this mean? What does time actually mean? So she's in the future realizing my mom, I don't even exist anymore where I am now. And then going into the past and realizing I don't even exist yet.
Yeah.
So I like that we do take these realistic emotional beats to sit with her kind of really contemplating what all this means, getting to go to these places and being somewhere that she never could have even thought about existing, but now she does exist in this phase of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like when we can be reminded of the time aspect, because I mean it's such a kind of a broad thing and it's played as this kind of fun adventure thing, but when you
Yeah.
actually kind of sit and think about it in a real world kind of aspect, it's really interesting to see her kind of grapple with that as just a regular person being pulled
It
out of
grounds the whole
yeah,
thing. And
yes,
that's the great success of this era of Doctor Who. I think that's why it's so constantly so fondly remembered. Yes, there are dated elements to it. Some of the visuals are dated. Potentially some of the attitudes are slightly dated. Not that they ever mean ill, I don't think, but
yeah,
perhaps they are. But I think that is the great success, is that it is so humanly grounded
yeah,
of an era of the most out there sci-fi TV show you can possibly have, that can do anything it wants to do.
yeah,
This is so real people at its core of an era.
yeah,
And that is how someone would react to going into the past. They would question everything about,
hmm,
are they even allowed to be here? Like,
yeah,
if I do anything, will it make a difference? If I do nothing, will it make a difference? What am I supposed to do so I can be born? Is it
yeah,
really that deep? Am I, in fact, going to affect anything at all? Or is
yeah,
this just a split off of
yeah,
time and my timeline stays true? And we
yeah,
can have those questions. And certainly questions like that come up, or are explored
yeah,
in later seasons of Doctor Who. But we do have to remind ourselves as well that it's never that deep with Doctor Who. It's never
yeah,
that serious, because its aim is to appeal to absolutely everybody.
yeah,
So that's the tough balance of it, is that it has to be plausible enough and kind of serious enough to have these themes, have these explorations. As I said before, there's an awful lot of themes of death
yeah,
already in 3 episodes of the first revival of this show.
yeah,
The Doctor himself is feeling deeply guilty for all of the killing he ultimately
Yeah.
had a part in the
Mhm.
Time War. The Unquiet Dead is literally the name of this episode, about dead not being able to rest properly
Yeah.
because another half-dead species who have lost their world is trying to inhabit them, and
Mhm.
nobody can quite rest. And then the end of the world was about the death of the entire
Entire
Earth.
work. Yeah. Mhm.
We're constantly talking about loss, death,
The end of
and
things. Yeah.
mortality
Yeah.
in 3 episodes of a ridiculously
Yeah.
silly, campy version of Doctor
Mhm.
Who,
Yeah.
which is a mad balance to try and get.
Yeah. But
It
they
somehow
hit it.
does it.
Yes. Mhm. Yeah. I love that.
The Unquiet Dead it's an episode to me that is really, I wished it was more. I like what it does do. I like that it's there to introduce things that will become bigger as this season goes on.
Mhm.
And I like that it's a celebrity historical. I
Yeah.
love Simon Callow's portrayal of
Mhm.
Dickens. I just, for it being, it's Mark Gatiss as well who writes this episode. We must always remember to note the writer of each episode of Doctor Who, as they do have distinct styles in
Oh,
their
okay.
stories. Mark Gatiss tends to write historicals as well. Whenever you'll see him come up as a writer, it will most likely be a historical. There's something particular about that. Once we get to Stephen Moffat written episodes, we'll usually have very sci-fi tiny themes going
Okay.
on,
Okay.
paradoxes and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, to be fair, a lot of the time in this era, in this first Russell T Davies era, the Stephen Moffat episodes tend to be the general best ones. I think there's a reason he became showrunner after Davies left the first time.
Okay.
And he, as far as I watched into Stephen Moffat's run again, we have to remind ourselves I'm not an over expert on Doctor Who, just on maybe on a particular era.
Yeah, just more
Um,
of an expert than me.
just well, maybe so, but he had a successful run as showrunner,
Mhm.
Stephen Moffat, and yes, we'll be getting onto his first episodes somewhat shortly
Okay.
in this season. But we will move on from the Unquiet Dead, unless we, of course, have any
No,
final thoughts on
I
this
think
episode.
I think you wrapped it up nicely.
To Aliens of London, again introducing a new format of Doctor Who episode, the two-parter. Yay!
Yes.
We love a two-parter, don't we?
Yeah.
Do we love this two-parter, Jeannine? This two-parter that has gone down in infamy for being a bit too silly, a bit too child-friendly.
Oh, yeah, with all
For
the gas. We got more
all
gas
the
going on.
Yes, more gas going on. And for some reason, these 2 episodes are obsessed with gas.
Yeah.
Um, people would noticeably refer to it as, oh yes, of course, the aliens that do all the farting, or the one with all the fart
That
jokes, or
yes,
things like that.
yes. Yeah.
And yes, okay, there's a lot of that going on
Yeah.
in Aliens of London. But for my money, I think what we have to remember as well is actually, aside from all that, we do have to remember that Doctor Who wants to appeal to children as well. And
Mhm.
I think
You gotta
we'll
throw
get
one of those in
in.
there every once in a while.
You gotta throw a little bit in there as well. You've also got to remember that this
Mhm.
particular era of Doctor Who is actively trying to be campy. And my God, is
Yeah.
Aliens of London sometimes very, very campy. But it's also sometimes really quite politically sharp and satirical and quite clever. Yes, maybe in a straightforward kind of way, in an unnuanced kind of way. But it's pretty distinct to me that this is pretty good, political satire for all the family to understand.
Yeah.
And I think I like that about Aliens of London as a first episode in a two-parter as well. Once we get into World War III, these themes are explored further, and we'll obviously
Yeah.
get into that in the next episode of diving into Doctor Who. But I think a spaceship crashing through Big Ben and then the aliens, becoming their human counterparts,
Yeah,
feeling
of
people's
people higher
skin,
up in government and that kind of
yeah,
thing too. Yeah.
living in the skin of them and taking over the government for their own gain to destroy the world. It might seem a bit 50s sci-fi,
Yeah.
but I think it's presented as quite an ominous thing.
Yeah.
All the while in the middle, yes, okay, of silly fart jokes and May from Ted Lasso. We've obviously just finished talking Ted
Yeah.
Lasso as one of the human counterparts of this alien race we are getting in this two-parter, which again, like I said, does go on to live in somewhat infamy, but also become one of the major villains of a spin-off that I won't get into yet, but was a more child-friendly, focused
Yeah.
spin-off of Doctor Who. We'll get into the spin-offs when it's relevant, because it does become somewhat relevant.
Yeah.
I think in season 2. But yes, the Slitheen, Jeannine, Aliens of London. What do we think? Do we see that it may be a bit silly? Do we think it a bit too silly? Do we prefer
I
our
mean,
Doctor a little bit more serious?
I will say I do like the balance better of kind of silly and more serious, deep thought. But this one we do kind of open, uh, going back to Rose's time, and so
Yeah.
I liked the opening that, we weren't jumping to another place, we're going back home to kinda check in. So I love knowing that that was kind of an option. I kind of, forgot that that was kind of, open to her. You think she's gone off with the doctor, we're never gonna see her back home again. She was really worried about her mom and all that kind of thing. So it's nice to know that, like, a check-in is something that's part of this kind of new life that she's taken on.
Oh yeah,
Um,
and the doctor of course says, "Oh, don't worry,
you've only been gone 12
you've only
hours.
been gone 12 hours. You've only been gone 12 hours.
Yeah, yes. So
I
you kind of have
promise you,
fun.
Rose, you've
It'll
only
be
been gone
okay.
12
Yes.
hours."
So I kind of have fun with, okay, I like how the time works. That's really fun. And then you get home with her. Her mom is freaking out. We see all the missing posters of her. She's been gone at 12 months.
Yes.
And so kind of all that fallout and her mom kind of quickly bouncing back and like and just inviting all the neighbors over and talking about the guy who asked her out on a date, like immediately just like you know going from panic state to like, oh yeah, that's fine, let's just have a little party over here kind of thing.
Being very annoyed with the doctor, though.
Yes,
Slapping the doctor
slapping
across the face.
him. Yes, blaming him. And then we learn that Mickey also got a lot of blame
Oh,
for her going missing
yes.
because he's the boyfriend and that whole kind of
Which is
thing.
quite sad, really. It's
Yeah,
quite
that he was
sad for Mickey.
implicated, that he got dumped, couldn't say what actually happened, and
No.
then gets accused of whatever bad thing they assume happened to Rose. So yeah,
Like,
not
was actively the one person who
yeah.
watched her run into the TARDIS.
Exactly, and he doesn't get a ton of sympathy, so, yeah, it's kinda sucks for him. So I do like that we get this whole kind of aspect of her going home and the fallout of her leaving and all of that before we get into, like, the sillier aspects. But I also loved kind of seeing, we see these aliens, they make them all, like, bigger people, fatter people, and then the
Yeah.
farting, and then they're constant like giggling and gleeful laughing at their domination. So they're very cartoonish, but then we
They
throw
are.
some elements in there of them actually being smart and like kind of morphing actual like real world creatures and animals into these kind of mutated things, as a
Yeah,
kind
they
of
know
red
what to do.
herring. Yeah, so they think that these creatures that they manipulated are the aliens, and they won't, have any suspicion on them. So I like kind of seeing a smart aspect to them, even though they are kind of played as really silly. That this is a really kind of deep, coordinated plan for them. So I liked getting aspects of that because I don't know that I think that's such a smart idea for an alien invasion movie that I don't think I've seen, or an alien invasion story that they would kind of throw suspicion off themselves by using their alien abilities to implicate something else by turning it into something that could be seen as
Yeah.
alien. So yeah,
And you see the news cycle used to great effect,
oh
I think,
yeah,
in this
yes.
episode.
And get people kind of
Um,
their eyes on the wrong thing, thinking about the wrong thing while they're just, in the corner doing their, evil deeds.
yeah,
So,
you think about that as well. You can say what you want about any sort of real world, version of this, but evil people in government, i.e., yes, okay, the Slitheen in this particular
yeah,
episode of television, but maybe or maybe not in the real world as well, evil people in government using media very,
yeah,
very, very, very cleverly, ultimately, to throw the scent off themselves, to put
yeah,
all the
mhm,
focus into
yeah,
something else. And that is what this media circus ends up turning into. This spaceship
mhm.
obviously crashes through Big Ben, an effect that I think has held
Actually,
up
yeah, it
as
looks
well.
pretty
I
good,
think
yeah,
it looked pretty good as a disaster movie kind of
mhm.
effect. Um, and everybody's wondering what the hell this is.
What's
Obviously, it's
going on? Yeah,
crashed into the Thames. Um, the alien, quote unquote, inside ends up being some sort of pig creature that the Slitheen have concocted up
yeah,
in some sort of way, again to throw the scent off themselves. And I love this scene with the Doctor as well when he finds out that this pig creature is literally just a pig
pig that
that
they
has
kind of
been
manipulated, yeah,
that
to be
they've
some kind of
manipulated.
creature, yeah,
And it could come across as silly, but with a snap of your finger later, this pig is running into this sort of dark hallway and immediately gets shot by one of these soldiers that are obviously
yeah,
on guard for this national emergency.
yeah,
And the doctor's screaming at this soldier. He was just scared. He
yeah,
was scared. Why did you do that? He was
yeah.
scared. Again,
Yeah.
going back to that help first, attack
Yeah,
later
later, yes,
mentality.
understand everything, before you kind of act, and that's why he kind of sneaks away, and then you do also have this kind of worry that he might abandon Rose here. You're like, "You're home, you're with your family,
I mean, a
look
little
how
bit.
look how scared your mother was. Maybe it's best
Yeah.
you stay here," kind of energy looming, so you're kind of, like, worried for that relationship that, like, is
You,
he deceiving her, thinking that he's doing the right thing for her, or realizing it was a mistake to take her or something. But then he
yeah.
ultimately leaves her with the keys to the TARDIS and says, I'm gonna go kind of check things out. And yeah, on his own kind of investigation, he figures out what's going on. I do also like that the Doctor has turned kind of from this um kind of a conspiracy theory to being like a flagged name for alien expertise. Because in that first episode, we
Yeah.
had that guy who, was very suspicious of him, and this kind of lure of this guy popping up all the time. But now, his name gets flagged because Rose's mother ultimately sees the TARDIS and freaks
Yeah.
out and realizes that, the Doctor is an alien, and the news has been broadcasting this hotline, call us
Yeah.
if you've seen an alien, and she
Jackie
uses all
Tyler can't keep
y
herself off the
no,
topic.
no, I was so annoyed with her. I'm like, "Ugh, lady." Um,
I do want to ask you about this as well. Again, I haven't read a proper synopsis, so I might do
oh,
this
yeah.
now for synopsis purposes, we have Rose returns home to discover that she has been missing for a whole year, although for her it's been a couple of days. However, before she can explain her absence, a spaceship crashes into Big Ben, causing a worldwide crisis.
Yeah.
Worse still, the Prime Minister has mysteriously disappeared. We haven't talked about the fact that the Slitheen actually kill the Prime Minister.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Doctor's investigation puts him in the spotlight with the British government, exactly what we are talking about now, as his long history of defending Earth finally catches up with him. But there are sinister goings on at Downing Street, and politician Harriet Jones, she has a quest to get some answers, which brings her into a brave new world. Meanwhile, Rose finds trouble closer to home as her past mistakes threaten to tear her family apart. I have a few questions, one of which is, do we like Harriet Jones, MP Flydale North?
Jury's still out.
I think we will come to very much like Harriet Jones, MP Flydale North.
Yes.
At this time, currently, she's MP Flydale North.
Yes. I mean, I think I remember ultimately coming around on that, but I feel like this feeling, this trajectory of feeling, it feels very familiar for this character.
I see.
So.
She might be a little bit annoying in this episode, constantly trying to get, keep her appointment with whatever minister she's got an appointment with.
Yeah.
All the while there's an alien crisis going on. Yeah. But she's not interested in that. She had her appointment. She has to keep her appointment.
Yeah.
She is one of our cliffhanger enders.
Yeah. Yes.
As well, isn't she? When the Slitheen actually reveal themselves in their full form.
Yes, she is kind of caught up in that as an alien does come to her house pretending to be someone official because she's called them, and so they want to like eliminate any other alien threats that are not with them. So they go there investigating and ultimately, reveal themselves and go to attack her, and that's kind of where we end the episode.
And I will also ask the question: how do we feel at this point after? Yes, we've sat. We've been with them for a couple of episodes now. Or about Jackie Tyler and Mickey, because I think they're an odd two characters. I kind of low-key really like Jackie Tyler just because she's chaotic.
Yes,
just a bit of a mess, and you don't know what she's gonna do. And I forgot how sympathetic we would feel for Mickey at this given point, because
because of everything he's been through. He's calling him Ricky constantly, telling him he's wrong, that his name is actually Mickey, like everything he's kind of had to endure. But I do remember like really loving moments that like he got to kind of be a part of the team and really kind of end up understanding the dynamic between Rose and the Doctor. Because I think I was kind of telling you before the show that I love the non-romantic romantic energy of Rose and the Doctor. Like I love seeing them give each other these endearing looks of like respect and care. And I love
there's an awful lot of care between
and I love
and
them
Rose.
complimenting each other, like I'm so glad you came, I'm so glad I'm here kind of energy when they take each other's hands. Like all of that stuff is just like so feel good to me. As somebody who's like a romance person, I am I can be honest about not like shipping them or expecting a romance or putting upon something that wasn't kind of the conceit, but I can still kind of appreciate their chemistry and their care of each other. And the same way I would something that was wholly and directly romantic.
You know what? It's fascinating you say that, and I'm so interested to see what you may think of future Doctor companion.
Yes, I'm led to believe because
that may lean towards the more romantic side.
Yes, because I did, as I was watching this season, I was kind of doing research on the other Doctors and kind of looking into things and like, as I was looking at things about
Don't
this
do that.
season.
This is
Well, no,
supposed to be
not
fresh.
no. When I first watched this all those years ago,
Oh, I
I'm
see.
just recollecting when I was watching a lot about this and kind of trying to learn about, IMDb's and trivia and like, watching videos from this doctor, and then, other things would pop up on my feed because I'm like, how much longer do I have with Rose? Is she gonna go too? And like those things I was wondering when I first watched this. And so learning about other companions and seeing kind of fan sites and shipping of
Yeah.
different, people with the doctors. And so I kind of got the sense that there was going to be kind of romantic lore with other combinations of companions and doctors. So yeah, I know that's like potentially kind of to come, but I always
Okay.
loved this energy of like, you know, feeling the same way I would feel about a romantic pairing, but not needing it to be that. Because, like, I think normally
Okay.
how my mind works is I would need it to be that. I wish that it would be that, but the care, kind of the love that they have for each other, kind of being beyond that, which is even what I think Rose tells Mickey when he's saying that, and he thinks, "Oh, he's your new boyfriend now," kind of thing. She's like, "It's so much like deeper than that." I'm
Which is not
happy.
what Mickey wants to hear at that time.
No, that's probably even worse, but I'm happy to kind of sit in that spot with them, and I love kind of their energy. And
Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed this best friend sort of style of companion. I do think, admittedly, again, we would see this style of companion better presented in later seasons with different people. But I do like the dynamic. I've always liked the
yeah,
dynamic between Eccleston and Rose. I mean, they were the first pairing of this era, so that they're always going to be fondly remembered,
yes,
and no matter what, and justifiably so
yeah.
in my mind. I really do like them. I do have to ask you one more question though. I don't think we got a final answer actually on the if you like Jackie Tyler or not though. Mickey, I think you can say you sympathize with at this current stage.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think ultimately all her kind of harebrainedness comes out of a actual genuine care for her daughters. So, you can't give her too much grief about that. But yeah, she does have her kind of ridiculous, obnoxious moments, but ultimately she's really endearing in her
I
silliness.
mean,
So
she keeps coming back and back and back over the
yeah,
course of Rosie's run as companion.
yeah,
So we're never too far away from Jackie Tyler, admittedly,
yes.
for better or worse. But I think a final question, given that we end here on a cliffhanger for episode 4, Aliens of London, Jeannine, as we said, the first
Mhm.
half of the first two-parter in this revival of Doctor Who. The Slitheen themselves, do we enjoy the look of them, the visual style of them? Do we like
Um,
what they look like as aliens?
I mean, they're kinda gross, and
They
the
are
size of them is intimidating and scary, so I think that works. But them in
massive
human form,
brains.
of course, is the very kind of silly, farting fat person, and that's kind of
Oh
where
yeah,
they
I don't mean human form. I mean the
yeah.
fully, you know,
Yeah, no.
unzipped
Was it
foreheads, bright
yes,
blue light shining,
yes.
peeling off your human
Yeah, I mean,
skin,
I think it looked
ridiculous looking effect.
yes, I think it looked pretty good. I like that it was kind of, akin to our garden variety alien look. But it was kind of insect-like a little bit. It kind of reminded me of
It
like a,
is.
a giant ant or something. So I liked that they took kind of a familiar kind of alien look and morphed it into something kind of on all its own. So yeah,
Yes.
I'd say they looked pretty creepy.
When in during World War III, the next episode, we will learn where the Slitheen are from and why they may be doing this. The Doctor does find this out, and I've always remembered where the Slitheen are from, because I don't think it's not a word you can forget when you've heard it the first time. And I'm not going to say it now because obviously I don't think you at this point could tell me what that was. So I'm going to wait for
I don't
the Doctor
remember.
himself to
Reveal
tell
that.
you.
Okay.
Which I think is just going to be so much better. But
Okay.
I do kind of like the design of the Slitheen.
Yeah.
It does feel, it does, yes, okay, it feels like a children's version of an alien. Is not that what it's supposed to be? That is, to my mind, what it is supposed to be. As I said, there's a reason they would become a major sort of recurring villain in the more younger audience-friendly spin-off that would come later. And last for a decent amount of time on the CBBC channel, which was always very good. But I do like them. I do like them. Outside of their human form.
Kind of still, yes, and the silliness of that.
Which I don't even mind. I mean, I think people are unfair towards that. I like the fart jokes, sure, nobody really finds them funny. But just the goofiness of it, I'm
but I mean,
perfectly fine.
even the sinister glee, the gleefulness they take in tricking people and deceiving people, and in this whole kind of plan, you know, the kind
it's campy.
Yeah.
And it wants to be.
It didn't bother me, but I saw it as kind of like, okay, maybe we're trying to appeal to a younger fan base here, but it didn't bother me because there was a lot more that I really enjoyed about this episode, and we do get the bad wolf being graffitied on the TARDIS in here as well. So, yeah,
we certainly do. We'll get perhaps a little bit more deeper into the political satire of this two-parter in the next episode of Diving into Doctor Who, when we will be looking at World War III, of course, as I've mentioned several times. That is the next episode's name, as well as I've forgotten what comes after World War III, so I'm going to look it up quickly. Jeannine, it is it's Dalek. It's Dalek. And now I am excited.
Yes.
Why didn't I realize it was Dalek? Of course, it's
okay.
Dalek. What a phenomenal episode of television! Beautiful piece of television, as someone once said. But yes, I think, Jeannine, that's going to do it for this episode of Diving into Doctor Who, as we're getting a little bit more familiar with Christopher Eccleston's Ninth Doctor and Rose Tyler and everything that comes along with them. I'm very excited to keep going. I'm even more excited now that I realise I get to watch Dalek again.
Yes.
I get to do my Dalek impression next week. Oh, it's going to be so good. I love doing a Dalek impression.
Yes, I did think I mentioned a story of where I actually did a Dalek impression on a Schmodown during a Schmodown match. So
I do remember that.
I am Jeannine the Machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can tell that story. Daleks aren't machines, though. We must remember this.
I know.
The Daleks would distinctly not be machines. Next episode of Diving into Doctor Who, evil though they are, Jeannine.
Yes, and I mean they talk like how a robot would talk, though. So
they do, but that is a voice modulator. You see, within the shell of the casing of the Dalek, the armor of the Dalek. I do like Dalek as an episode. I like Daleks in general. Sometimes the Daleks can be done really weirdly and kind of badly.
Yeah.
But my God, did they nail it with that first reintroduction of them?
Yeah.
It's so good. I'm so looking forward to it. Anyway, of course, this show alternates every Monday here Whether you are watching on the It's Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel or whether you are listening on the It's Wonderful Podcast feed, it alternates with Discovering Dawson's Creek on Morgan Hasn't Seen TV. That's the one where you have the knowledge and all the power, as well as obviously on Morgan Hasn't Seen normal show, which is movies obviously every Wednesday, and the main show celebrating old movies every Friday. Do subscribe and ding your notification bell if you are watching on the YouTube channel. Do subscribe wherever you are listening on all major podcast platforms. Leave your comments on Spotify, rate and review wherever you are. Leave your comments on YouTube as well, of course. Let us know what you think about these 2 episodes, The Unquiet Dead and Aliens of London. What are our thoughts on the Slitheen? And does Dickens even matter in his own historical, his own celebrity historical? No, he doesn't. He doesn't, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Why? Make him matter.
Make him, yes. Yes.
But yes, there we go. Things have been scrolling down at the bottom of the screen all episode long. Of course, if you can't see them and you are just listening, you can find Patreon, donations, social media, merch, and all the other fun links in the description of this episode. Jeannine, that of course does leave us with only one thing left to do. And given that the Slitheen don't really have an overly distinct way of speaking, they sound somewhat human, really, in how they speak, which may be a little bit odd. Maybe do an impression of a Slitheen pretending to be a human to count us down. For example, when May from Ted Lasso says, "I'm shaking my booty," which is, I think, my favourite part of the entire episode.
Okay. Oh, goodness. We have to figure out this gas problem.
It literally is that crude, isn't it? You can't get away from it. It's so bad. Bye.